Hello and welcome. We start with the updates coming in from the Horn of Africa. A Turkish ship has docked at Somalia's coast. Its mission, as described, is to find oil and gas and to reduce the East African nation's dependence on imports. But observers say Turkey's motives are much bigger, and with its ships sailing on the Somali waters, the country is seeking to increase its influence in Africa. Now, Turkey's seismic research vessel, the Oruç Reis, has arrived on Somalian coast to begin searching for oil and gas. It was officially inaugurated by Somalia's president, Hassan Sheikh Mohamoud, during a welcome ceremony. Now, the ceremony was also attended by Somali Prime Minister and other senior government officials. Now, the Turkish Energy and Natural Resources Minister, Bayraktar, was also present along with the delegation, and the Turkish minister praised the efforts by the Somali government at the ceremony, where officials from Ankara were welcomed with a song named Genuine Friendship by their ally in the Horn of Africa. The Turkish ship had embarked on its journey in late September. It is accompanied by 2 Turkish naval ships which will be guarding it in Somalia. This comes after the 2 nations inked an agreement in March of this year that granted Turkey's state oil firm exclusive rights to explore and produce hydrocarbons in 3 blocks in Somalia, covering 15,000 square kilometres. Somalia is not an oil-producing nation, but seismic studies have pointed to considerable oil and gas resources in its maritime territory. The Turkish vessel is all set to find these crucial resources. It will conduct 3-dimensional seismic studies in Somali waters and will gather data for oil and natural gas exploration over a period of approximately 6 months. This data will be analyzed in Ankara to identify potential drilling sites. However, experts have pointed out that it is not going to be a piece of cake for Turkey to find oil in Somalia. It is very tough geography and exploration site, and there is no guarantee of success. So they see Ankara's move as more of a political one rather than commercial. Turkey is already involved in various sectors in Somalia, including construction, mining and agriculture, and now energy is also on the list. Ankara is a long-time partner of Mogadishu. Its pivot to the region dates back to 2011, when Mogadishu was grappling with the aftermath of a 20-year-long civil war and the emergence of Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab terror group. Back then, Somalia gained little appeal from major international players. At that time, Turkey found its opportunity to enhance its image in Africa and also globally. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, then Turkish Prime Minister and the incumbent president, made a historic visit to Somalia in August of 2011. Since then, Ankara has sent humanitarian aid, launched diplomatic initiatives, and made economic investments in Somalia. This partnership has grown in recent years. Ankara has built schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, and provided scholarships for Somalis to study in Turkey. In 2017, Turkey opened its biggest overseas military base in Mogadishu, and it also provides training to the Somali military and police. In February this year, Turkey signed a defense and economic cooperation agreement with Somalia. Turkey is also reportedly discussing establishing a missile and space rocket test site with Somalia. But are Turkey's adventures in Africa limited to Somalia? Well, historically, Turkey's influence had remained limited to the Horn of Africa and North Africa due to the geographic and religious link. However, just like all major players, Ankara is also now expanding ties with countries in Africa, and these include the Sahelian nations like Niger. In July this year, Turkey inked a cooperation agreement with Niger on mining, after having signed a similar cooperation deal with the West African nation on oil and gas. Turkey has also made efforts to enter Burkina Faso's gold market and has signed defense and drone deals with Sahelian nation. And Turkey has also reportedly sold its drones to at least 11 African countries. Moreover, it has also signed oil exploration agreements with Algeria. Many African nations are seeking alternatives as an anti-West sentiment grows. With Africa now a major geopolitical battleground, Ankara too is competing with major powers like Russia, China, the US, and former colonial ruler France for a foothold. Will Turkey be the next big player in Africa? For more on this, we are being joined by Dr. Ambrose Igboke, an international affairs expert who is joining us live from Enugu in Nigeria. Thank you for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you, Alison. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, what sectors or industries is Turkey focusing on to strengthen its presence in Africa? And how does this strategy differ from the approaches taken by Russia and China, as an example?
I think what Turkey is doing is, Russia and China are more focusing on big African countries that have a lot of economic powers. They are trying to, China is doing a lot of business with Nigeria, doing a lot of business with Kenya, and doing a lot of business with some other big African countries. The same thing with Russia. Russia coming to Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. But what Turkey did was that it focused on a country like Somalia that is not under the scramble nets, because while other big countries are going for the bigger economies, Turkey noticed that instead of having to scramble with China and Russia, it went straight on to Somalia, that is a devastated country, a country that has been at war for a very long time, a balkanized country, a country that suffered massive droughts that killed over 250,000 people. Somalia is in need. Somalia is not in a space to negotiate anything. It is coming from a weak pedestal. So Turkey cashed in on that because they could get anything free right now from Somalia, because Somalia have been abandoned for over many years, and Turkey seems to be the only savior. So it is a quite strategic move for Turkey, and they're going to reap massively from all the investments they have done in Somalia and strengthen their military base, strengthen their economic base. They're going to have a lot of exports coming out from Turkey into Somalia. So it's a good and a very strategic move by the country.
And Doctor, is Turkey leveraging soft power, such as cultural diplomacy and humanitarian efforts, to build long-term relationships with African nations, in your view?
I would not even call this soft power. It is hard power, because now Turkey is not even pretentious about it, because when we say soft power, it means you are using diplomacy, you are not coming aggressively about your intentions. We are trying to use some backdoor channels and the rest. But Turkey is not even pretentious about it. They are using the hard power. Military base is not soft power, it's hard power. They are building military bases, they are doing military training. They are taking over almost the Navy operations of Somalia. They are building defense bases. They are having bilateral training agreements with Somalian students. So they are doing a lot in Somalia. They are taking over the infrastructure development of Somalia. So this, to me, do not mean soft power. They are actually brutish economic aggression and military incursion. And they are not pretentious about taking over Somalia. So for me, it is just an extension of power base for Turkey to also try to flex its muscle as in the Mediterranean area, to also have a foothold and be able to negotiate in the international politics. Because when it comes to Africa, we are back to what we were in 1865, when major European countries went to Berlin and partitioned Africa. Right now, we are back to the same boat, where different parts of Africa are being taken over by different countries. But this time around, it's not only the Europeans, the Americans are here, the Russians are here, the Chinese are here, and now Turkey has joined them. So it's a massive scramble, and they're going to leverage on it for a very long time, because from the infrastructure and the things they are putting on ground, Turkey is telling them that we are not going away soon. We are going to stay here for a long haul.
Right. Right. Well, Doctor, thank you very much for being with us on the show. As always, great to speak with you.
Thank you very much, Alice. It's always a pleasure.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election. Explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.